So, hello, good evening, good evening. Welcome to A Beautiful Life with Katrina Henderson. I am joined with by Nikki Howard of Flow Life Solutions, and we are talking about tonight the power of affirmations, how they are more than just words. Nikki, do you want to say hello to the beautifuls?
Hello, beautiful. It's my first time here, so yes, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you for joining me. I wanted to bring you on because if most people know that I believe in the power of affirmations. However, in the work that you do within human design, when I took a course with you, you blew my mind about the affirmations and how I was missing a connection. And so tonight I want to talk about that connection because a lot of people use affirmations, right, as a way to shift perspective, shift the narrative, and things like that. But what you taught me is a big component of how to get it all to like connect the dots and how to truly get it to flow. So, first, if you could tell us a little bit about what human design is so that those watching will who may not know what it is can get an idea and then we that'll help us more.
Okay, so human design. So I do work in like personal development, um, self discovery, and over time I've used like a lot of different tools, but human design has become my favorite because similar to I don't know if you've talked about on here like the life paths, numbers and cycles is based off of your birth date, and it gives you this body graph that shows you how your energy is set up. It kind of gives you this in-depth information of different talents and strengths that you have, and really a lot about your soul's curriculum here, like what you're doing here. And it's quite amazing. Like when you read some of the stuff, you're like, OMG. Same stuff that you actually end up getting when you like take assessments. But when you look at the fact that you're getting the same information, but it's based off of the day and time you were born, it really gives you that feeling and that clarity of like we all say, God designed us, we're designed on purpose, but it's there. You're like, oh, I was designed this way. And so that's what human design is in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah. So we, Alicia and I, we talked about the year cycles last week. And so this is perfectly a good segue into what you do. Okay. So can we just dip right into it and you get ready to blow somebody's mind? Well, at least you did mine. Maybe y'all won't be blown away, but I was, when you talked about it. So I'm going in and I'm saying my little I am beautiful statements and I am confident, I am worthy, things of that nature. But when you introduced affirmations during our session, you talked about the affirmations and how they're more than just the words and the thoughts that we say. There is the component of connecting to our heart that I hadn't realized before. So, can you talk about that?
Okay. So I'm going to try to talk about it in a way, try not to confuse myself so I don't confuse you. So human design, right? When you look at your chart, they have these centers, and these energy centers correlate with um, like the chakra system. So you have like your head, your ajna, your throat, the heart, and the emotional solar plexus. So there's this diagram, and I don't know. Should I show it? Can I share my?
You can, you can.
Um,
Hopefully, you can share.
let me see if it'll let me. Can you see that?
I can. Oh man. Okay. How about now? I think we're good now.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a body graph. These shapes are the centers. And what I was sharing with Katrina was what we talked about, the mechanics. Your inspirations and your thoughts calibrate your emotions. which calibrates your heart, which affects what you attract in your life. So this flow right here is kind of like how it works. So what I was explaining was when we say affirmations, we usually think that what we say is going to create the thing that we desire, right? But what what happens is what we in our heart. So when we think about the Bible, God says God gives you the desires of your heart, right? In your heart really is what they call a magnetic monopole, which attracts things to you. So you can be attracting things into your life that is meant for you to experience in this life. But we also got the mind, we have the heart, we have the emotions, and we have the ego. So it has to travel through all of that. Somewhere in between the thought and the heart, we have to pay attention to the whole processing of things. So if you get a thought, you have an idea, you have an inspiration, but if you really don't believe it, and if you're having challenges with your belief system, if you're having challenges with your worth, your self-worth, so you can say all the amazing things you want to say, but on the inside, you don't feel worthy, you don't truly feel worthy of that, it can cause a resistance. And then also about the emotions. So keeping your emotional vibration high calibrates your heart so that you can attract more of what you want instead of what you don't want.
I think you got to say that again because I think that was the bomb. That was the mic drop for me when when you said that, because here I am thinking, if I think it, if I say it, then it's, hey, it's my affirmation, right? It's my intention for the day. But if I'm not feeling that in my heart and I'm not believing that in my heart, then it's kind of like wasted words, right? Because there's not that alignment to go with it. And it's kind of like I could believe it 1 second, right? But then life starts lifing, and then now all of a sudden, I'm not feeling the intention that I'm set. I'm not believing the intention that I set. Then it was like, well, what was the point of me setting the intention?
Right, because we're creating a frequency, we're creating a vibration, right? When people say, vibrate higher and, you know, keep your energy up and stuff like that. So it's like the the alignment part. So so here's how I learned it. The person who taught it to me had us do this exercise, and this is how I played with it. If you think of a word that normally gives you anxiety or triggers something, right? So if you think of the word money, and then you ask yourself, what comes to mind when you think about money? And you write that stuff down. Well, it could be different things for different people. So a long time ago, when I used to have to spend certain like large amounts of money, I would get a headache. So if you think about, you say money, people say, what do you believe about money? Some people say money doesn't grow on trees. There's never enough. There's more bills than month or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You say those things, and then that sends what we call it a photon storm. It triggers something, and that kind of influences your emotions, how you feel. So then if you feel a negative way, that calibration to what you're trying to attract, you're not going to attract the good stuff because you're feeling bad. So it's like trying to do the work of changing the story about how you feel about certain things. Like not letting that old negative story get in the way of the new thing you're trying to create. And that's where the work comes in, because you got to keep reminding yourself, because we think about the old story so much. If I want to change something in my relationship, I want things to be different and be new in my relationship. But then every time my partner does a particular thing, I go back to all the old thoughts. Oh, you're going somewhere? Where? For how long? Who you going with? Who gonna be there? Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? And that's what if my mind is focused on those things, I'm gonna create whatever I see is gonna end up corroborating those stories.
So it's well, one, it's ironic that your first example is money because that's where I've been sitting, right? And money has been um me changing or challenging what money means to me has been where I'm sitting. So it's God is just like, okay, you still you know, Nikki touching on money. Let's talk about it. But but to the relationship one is a good example as well, because if we don't change the narrative, the limiting belief that we have, we're going to always go back to that place of hurt, you know, whether it was from the past or what have you. Like, you know, in a relationship, there may have been some things when y'all were still trying to work the kinks out. You know, both of y'all wasn't on the same page. And then now that y'all all on the same page, the minute that this might be a red flag comes up, right? Then now all of a sudden the red flags that y'all have now healed from are
Mhm.
coming back into play. And so it really is important that how to get it all to align into alignment, but that's not easy,
Mm-mm.
right? It's not easy to let go of the limiting beliefs from the past, from the pain and from the hurt, because it's kind of like it's a trust thing, right? It's that trust factor that we're looking for. It's like, okay, I'm going down this road again. It's going to end up the same way that it was. So can you suggest or maybe give some helpful tips on how to prevent yourself from going back into that limiting belief? Like, what are some good techniques so that the next time that situation, like if I'm sitting down and I'm reflecting on money, right? And I'm going back into this in my journey of trying to, not trying to, I will do this full time, right? That when the doubt comes in on how I start thinking, okay, maybe this isn't possible, what can I tell myself or do that would get me to shift back to everything being back in alignment? So my mind, my heart, my feelings, my emotions, like all of that stuff.
So first it's the awareness is the first thing, because now
Good.
once you're aware of it, you now have that little thing to go, oh wait, you might ask yourself an additional question. Then you might beforehand begin to think of some of the things about money that make you feel good, or words that make you, or stories like, are you telling yourself the truth about these other things, these negative stories? Are you telling yourself the truth about those? And what is the truth? You could be like, if you look back at things, yeah, things may not have always been perfect, but I've always been supported, you know, and you have to remind yourself. And then as things start changing, so this is how I use it in my relationship. As things start changing,
Mm-hmm.
it's one little thing at a time, right? Then all of a sudden you get more of the good story than you have the bad story.
That's good.
So it's like, instead of reflecting on the bad thing, like, remember that time he just um booked you guys tickets for a concert, or you know the good things. And then some of it also is may not necessarily relate directly to the thing itself, but knowing what makes you feel good, what keeps you in a good mood, what raises your emotional vibration, right? So sometimes we talk about not focusing on it so much, but because our mind is quick to try to solve a problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it goes to try to solve the problem and you're focused on that. But it's like, if you step away from it, play your favorite song, go dancing, go grounding, go do the things that make you feel good, um, or feel better, to take your mind off of it so you can get connected to that feeling. Get connected to the feeling, I want more experiences in my life that make me feel this way.
That's good.
And then the other, I forgot. It just about to slip my mind.
It's okay. Listen,
Oh, the questions, the questions. So here's the thing. So with the affirmations, a lot of time we're making declarations, right? And there's really nothing wrong with that. But because we don't know what the actual answer is, we think we know what the exact answer is. But you also learn to play with asking open questions, using your imagination. Not, I need $250 now to pay this bill, but, or I have to have, if I don't get this many clients by this time, then everything's gonna, fall to pieces. But in the journaling part is like, I wonder what it would take for me to, have things flow the way that I need them to flow, so that you'll be now open to the possibilities. There's more than one way to get things done. We only know the ways that we know.
that's so good because listen, I told y'all this was good. I told y'all because you're right. We are making this declaration, right? And so we think or have an idea of how we want it to come into fruition, but that may not at all the times be the way that God intends for it to come to us. And so
Mhm.
when we only see one way and only think one way, then we miss or could miss the opportunity sitting right in front of us because it didn't look like what we thought it was supposed to look.
Mhm.
So it's making sure that whatever I am statements or whatever declarations that we are, is that we are staying open to the possibility of what is to come.
Right. Yeah. And be, so I think about a long time ago, um, one of my pastors had told us this thing about when you buy a car or you're about to buy a car, then all of a sudden you see that car on the road all the
Yeah.
time.
All the time. All the time.
So it's kind of like that same idea of your awareness shifting to now the possibilities of what could be rather than what you're used to seeing, if that makes any sense.
It does. So let me ask you this, right? Because um in order for us to be open to the possibility, right, we have to evaluate our worthiness. Well, at least what I feel. And so, again, getting back to peeling back the layers and becoming vulnerable, you can't, oh my Jesus, you can't um, believe in possibility until you know that your self worth is where it needs to be. Like, I know self worth is where it's always a work in progress, but until you have really sat down and dealt with your beautiful, when I'm thinking about our perspective of that, walking in all of who God has created us to be, all of who we have, been designed to be, until we're not going to get it perfect. So it's not going to be, we're not going to go from the most confident, beautiful person overnight. Like, it's going to take time. It's going to take us peeling back those layers, but it's kind of like we got to do the work to peel those layers back so that we can in our minds visualize what it is we want to declare and manifest, so that we are opening our imagination. It's kind of like when I think about our imagination, as we were growing up as kids, we daydreamed all the time, right? We were playing superheroes, like our imagination. So that's what I think we need to get back to, is that time of play
Mhm.
and working through oh, I can be free. I can let my guard down. I can do what I need to do without any concern about anyone. I mean, how many times did you try and jump off the couch as a kid and your mama saying, don't do that or you're going to get hurt? They couldn't tell us we couldn't do anything. So we got to get back to that belief system where we believe that there's nothing that we can't do so that we can stay open to the possibilities and so that the imagination can flourish and be unleashed as we're walking into our beautiful.
Exactly. So I've been listening to Dr. Wayne Dyer lately. Um, he's passed, but he has a lot of good work out there. And he talked about the same stuff. He was talking about imagination. And he was talking about how when he was little, he had such a wild and vivid imagination. And he said, if you want a smart kid, something to the effect of, if you want a smart kid, read them fairy tales. And he said, if you want a brilliant kid, read them more fairy tales. And then don't let anybody, and it's a balance. Like you said, it's a balance. You got to live in the reality, but still hold the desire for your intention at the same time. So if, like, the thing with the old stories is like this. We know it forward and backward, right? We know it inside and out. So why keep repeating it? If a person is the way they is,
Hold on.
what? Wait, what?
You done stepped on my toes. Somehow, why keep repeating it? Like, it ain't the only one on here that repeats it like over. Okay, but go ahead. I
No,
had to sidebar for.
listen. You're my mirror right now. Okay, I'm talking to myself. Why keep repeating it? If it is what it is what it is, and it's gonna be that way. But putting my words on it is not gonna take it away. It's not gonna. But why waste my words on that story when I could be telling a different story? If it's nothing's gonna change, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So let it.
Be in the moment, go with the flow. Like your whole company name, like flow, just flow.
Yeah, I'm like, that's why I told you. I just received a text. I didn't like it, and I was like, I don't receive those kinds of texts in my new life. I don't know people like this who say these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it took me a minute. Like, I was like, it got me old. My heart started beating off, and I was like, I turned my do not disturb thing so that I'm not constantly like checking to see did they say something, because that's getting back in the loop.
Yep.
And I just said, no, you're in a new space. I'm on Facebook Live talking about things that I want to talk about, things that make me happy. So that story eventually is going to be gone. It's going to go away.
That's so good. So good. Okay. So talk about I'm looking at my notes because I had questions, but like we just are just going right now. But give me an example of how we should say our affirmations so that it all connects. So if I'm focusing on, I'm gonna say it, the whole what this beautiful life is of creating and walking in this beautiful life. So rather than me saying I am creating a beautiful life, what should it now look like?
But I think I am creating a beautiful life is good.
Okay.
Because so the I am statements are the magic, because I am creating a beautiful life. If there's any particular challenge that you're having, I think that's where the questioning comes up, like whatever space you're in. When you think about what you ultimately want, and then because I had to do this in real life because I did not want to go back into the office. And I'm trying to behave because I want it to happen a certain way, but the way that I'm behaving may not get me that outcome. But I knew that I could not go in mad, grumbling and griping, because that's taking the way that I feel down. And even when I go there, I don't feel good when I go there.
Okay.
But my thought was, I did, and I actually asked God, I said, okay, I can't force their hand to do what I want them to do. I'm gonna not quit another thing. I'm gonna let this process play out. I said, God, all I'm asking you is to please, whatever the outcome is or whatever the process is, help me to reconnect with my joy.
Wow.
Just help me find my joy, because I can't do this and be sad and frustrated. And it really was it was getting me sad and frustrated. And so slowly, I'm telling you, almost like magic, I started, random emails started popping up in my inbox about well-being workshops, virtual sound baths, things
Hey.
that when I looked at the email lit me up. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Then, I've shared in, I don't know where I shared it in the group early, but um, opportunity to volunteer with the learning and development department to facilitate workshops on emotional intelligence and professional growth. And so those are the little things that have been helping me to maintain my joy while I go through the process.
That's so good.
So the questions is questions like that, or, God, what would it take for me to, you know, get a situation where I can work at home. I want to work at home. I love this life. You know what I'm saying? And so it might not be that they do it, but if I'm questioning and being open to the possibilities, that changes something within me
Mm-hmm.
to see that it doesn't. I don't have to force their hand. You know what I'm saying? Some other opportunity may come. I may write down all of how many ways can this work out? Well, you can look for another job,
Yep.
you can see what's out there. So then now I'm not bent on them doing it. I'm not bent on, I got to have this job. Now my mind is just open to, well, let me see what's even out here. Are people still working, fully remote? And so all of the magic is in the journey.
That's so good because I think, a lot of times when we have this desire, we think it looks one way and may not necessarily be as specific about it, right? So me, for example, my prayer was I want to be a full-time entrepreneur. So in my mind, I had and I thought that this was how it was supposed to look. Well, God said, I got jokes. And it looks completely different. And it was kind of like when it hit, I was like, uh-oh, I wasn't expecting that. And so when we want something, we have to again be open to the possibility of it of in the way that God intends for it to look. Like
Mhm.
we have to be honest and say, okay, God, I'm all in, this is what I want, but do it in your will. Like now I want God's best for me. I'm thinking it's supposed to look one way, but he like, no, 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 I got something better for you. And it's we have to be open to that possibility because if not, he can like, okay, well, this is what you're praying for, this is what you're asking for. And he's if that's all we keep focusing on, he gonna give us what we ask, but may not necessarily have realized that was that the best
Wow.
that he has for us. Whereas if we just say, okay, God, here's my desire in accordance with your will for my life, then okay, he's in it. Like it's going that if the prayers are hitting heaven, and now I get to get the best versus just not. I mean, God gonna always give you what you want, right? But you gonna get what you want, or you can be very specific. So instead of saying, "Well, God, I want a new house," you got to say, okay, well, God, I want a single family home. I need a big backyard. I need a side, like I want the in lot. I don't want no neighbors where I can look out my window and I'm looking in their living room. Like, get as detailed and specific as you can, because when we do that, we are imagining like what it is we truly want. Like, we're putting words to what we want versus just saying, I want a new house. When
Right.
he's like, well, you didn't ask me for all of that. And like when we get the new house and then you get the new house and now you got to do a whole bunch of repairs, because when we were doing our prayers and our affirmations and things like that, we weren't saying, okay, God, I want the new house with little to no repairs that need to be made. Like, it get as much detailed what it is. Like, when you ask yourself, what is it that you want, and like truly want and not worried about whether your husband gonna be on board with it, your kids gonna get along, whatever it is. Like, at the end of the day, what is it that you truly want, and can you see yourself with that thing and believe you got that thing and feel that you have that thing? Because it's like, our words are one thing, but like when you talk about the heart connecting, that's a different avenue to it. When I can say it, but if I don't believe it, if I don't feel it, if I don't see it, then am I really doing, or do I really want that thing that much?
Right. That's true. So it's the mindfulness piece when you were asking about, tips. So it's the awareness and it's the mindfulness of just that process. You're inspired by something. Soon as that thought gets in here, it has to go through the filter of how you process things, how you process your thoughts, what the other people already tell you. I was watching The Wiz last night. That's my favorite movie. You got a kid behind you.
I am.
I was watching The Wiz, and when the scarecrow was up on that thing, he was asking, I was wondering if I could get down just for a little while, and they just started all that talk. And she said something in there. He was like, only thing that's been standing between being down there and me being up here was those crows. And so the crows they just start as soon as you get the positive thought. So imagine it has to travel through there. You have to challenge the thoughts. You have to re-narrate the story, recreate the story, you know, pay attention to your emotions. And then it also goes through that whole self-worth center too.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So so it's really a whole thing in alignment. Do you align with the thing what you that you say you want? And it takes time. I already know that there's a bigger purpose version of me. But then I'm like, I see it. But I'm still dealing with these things that are questioning whether I'm ready to be in that space. So the work is there.
I think what you said was really important too, because it does take time, right? Because I mean, you think about it, however old we are, we coming with all that baggage from our childhood. Everything has impacted us. And so we, think, okay, I'm gonna claim this I am statement and think that it's gonna magically change overnight. And it's not. It's kind of like what we dealt with in the No More Excuses intensive, where it's, we're looking for perfection, but it's not about that. It's about making progress. And for, what you're saying is, we got to go through the steps to do some healing, to change the narrative, to rewrite the story. Shoot, sometimes even just throw it all away. Just throw it all away, right? Because there's so much baggage that we carry, and until we can let that go, um we're still stuck in that same place. And so you're gonna always saying, I want a new house, I want a new house, I want a new house. But if you're not paying your bills, if
Mhm.
you're not managing your money right, if you don't have the emergency fund, then do you really want that new house right now? So it's looking at everything that comes into play and saying, okay, you know what? I want the new house, but I realize, okay, when I pull my credit report, there's some things I got to repair. Or, maybe I don't want, whatever it is that we have to look at, we have to understand that it is going to take us time to work through it and give ourselves the grace to just, okay, hold on a little bit longer. Like, stop wanting things in, like, as a microwave society, and understand that it is going, we got to do the work. There's no way around it. We got to do the work, and we have to understand, okay, I got to be patient with myself, be patient with others, and be patient with the process.
Right. And lastly, before you go, I think the other thing that resonates is that the whole forgiveness piece. We always talk about forgiveness.
That part.
And so knowing that your heart calibrate, this whole process calibrates your heart for your heart to attract the good. But if your heart is in not a good condition,
Mm,
if it's still holding bitterness, if it still hasn't processed any of the things, you know, it's harder to attract more of the good stuff because of the condition of your heart. So it has to go through that that process and that center of forgiveness for people and for others, because we can't allow people what we feel about people um, get our mood down.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when Alicia says, I don't have time to be mad or holding grudges, because the quicker we can let it go, the quicker you can move on with your life, the things that
Right.
you're trying to attract into your life.
Yeah, that we forgiveness, that's a whole list, and we could talk about forgiveness forever, ever. That's it's coming. We're gonna talk about it. But um I want to thank you again publicly as well. I told you this in the class too, but for opening my eyes on affirmations and just helping me see how it has to connect and how it really does flow in like a circle. And it just doesn't start with my words spoken or thoughts, that it is the heart, it is the feeling, it is like everything all together. So if beautifuls wanted to connect with you, or we got some men on here too, if they wanted to connect with you to know more about your work, how can they get connected with you?
Well, right now, I don't want to say this publicly. I'm in between websites.
Okay.
But I'm on Facebook, Nikki Nicole Howard. You can inbox me. On Instagram as a pretty dope fish. So I'm using the old fashioned DM inbox way until I get my stuff set up. Um, but yeah, if you just want to know more about human design, I do offer like a free discovery call, like a free connect, just to tell you more about it. Um, and that's a link I can include in the comments after we're off if anybody's interested.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, this is our beautiful life, talking about the power of words. Hopefully, prayerfully, we have shed some light, giving you some new feedback on how to see the connection between how it all flows. Until next week, we will see you again. Have a great evening. Bye.